Hi there, I'm Mary Susie from Bead Me a Story, and today I'm going to show you how to make a Shaggy loop charm bracelet that's also stretchy. The charms that I'm using on the one I'm going to show you were just some leftover ones that I had, but I do have kits in this red, green, and white version that you can purchase where everything's in there for you. Or you can choose, I have all sorts of Christmas charms on my website that you can choose from. So this is something you can really make it your own and make it in whatever colors you would choose to. You can buy all the supplies separately, or this is the only kit that I have available. It's really hard to have a set series of charms available that I can, replicate the kit many times. So, like I said, I really encourage you to kind of just purchase your own materials on this one if you want to do different themes, because there's all sorts of things, reindeer and wreaths and candy canes and Santas and angels and all sorts of things you can do. So today I'm going to show you how to make this snowman one, and I just want to pick this up and show you that it is stretchy, so you don't need a clasp, and it's going to fit right over your wrist, and it's very fun to wear because you can see everything. It's going to jangle all around as you wear it. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so to start a Shaggy loop chain, I laid out some rings here, and I just wanted to show you. These are our 7.25 millimeter O-rings. They're really nice, convenient size. I use them most often with a 18 gauge 3/16 jump ring. Those sizes tend to work extremely well together, and I have a whole bunch of different projects that will use these same two sizes. So this is a nice size to start with when you're a beginner chainmailer, just because the 18 gauge jump rings aren't really too hard to open and close, and the 725 O-ring works very well with that size and doesn't pose too many problems. It's pretty sturdy, it's not too thin, so you don't have to take as much care in not nicking it or cutting it, but still be careful as you move along. Okay, so you notice I pre-opened my jump rings here, and each jump ring is surrounded by 4 O-rings. Okay, so you can see on the sides I have the powder blue, and on the in-between, so this would be the chain going up the center. This is silver jump rings with celestial blue O-rings. Now, I chose these colors because I want to do a snowman motif this time. I just had some leftover charms. I do have lots and lots of snowman charms on my website, and all sorts of Christmas charms. So, you can design based on what you want to make, not necessarily what I like, okay? So use your creativity, use different colors, try different things. But I did want to show you that I alternated the colors, and we're going to be using some seed beads in this too. So I just wanted to do a nice monotone motif that I thought would go well with snowmen and snowflakes and mittens and outdoor things. Okay, so I'm going to pick up a powder blue, a celestial blue, a powder blue, and a celestial blue. I'm going to close that jump ring. Okay, and I want you to notice too, see how I used my prongs, and I'm actually sitting inside the O-ring here. Okay, and don't be afraid to do that, but don't ever grab onto the O-ring itself with your pliers. You're going to tear it. It's not going to work out well for you. Okay, so let me just want to close that a little bit straighter. Okay, so notice when I close my jump rings, I grab it around the 3 o'clock on the right side and the 9 o'clock on the left side. Okay, so that's row 1. So you see I've got the 2 powder blues sticking out on the side, and I've got the celestial blue at the start and at the finish. Okay, so to start my next row, what I want to do is pick up a jump ring. I'm going to pick up a powder blue O-ring, then I'm going to pass through my celestial blue O-ring that's there, pick up a powder blue, and pick up a new celestial blue. Okay, we're going to use that cadence pretty much for every row. Sorry if you hear some extraneous noise. My puppy dogs are laying in the sunshine here with me and doing their own thing. Okay, so see, we still have the celestial blue in the center row along with the silver, and the powder blues are hanging off on the side. Okay, so let me do a couple of those rows real quick. Pick up a powder, pass through the celestial blue or the center row color, whatever you chose to do. Pick up another powder blue, that's one of the outside colors. Pick up a celestial blue, okay, and just keep going like this. I'll do one more. I have lots more rings open here that you can't see. Okay, picked up a powder blue, passed through celestial blue, picked up a powder blue, pick up a celestial blue. Okay, grab at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, and when I'm closing my jump rings, of course, I want to be going back and forth like the vroom vroom motorcycle motion, but also remember that we want to kind of crisscross ourselves, or here I'll show you, but we want to kind of crisscross so that when I close this jump ring, it's slightly overlapping where it should close. That way when I bring it back, it's going to be nice and clean. I have a whole tutorial on how to open and close jump rings, and I do cover some things people have told me that they've never seen before. I know it's a basic step, but the better you learn your fundamentals, the stronger you're going to be as you go along and try and learn new things. Okay, so I just wanted to show you, I had a chain started on my own before I started teaching you how to do that part. So I just want you to see real clearly here that the celestial blue, the darker blue, and the silver are in the center, okay? They're just shooting up through the center. And that these powder blue rings that I added on here are sitting off on the sides. Okay, so they're hanging off on the sides. So now what I want to do to make this a little bit thicker Shaggy loop bracelet. Oh, and the other thing I wanted to point out before we move further, the reason it's a jump ring and an O-ring, a jump ring and O-ring in that center row, the celestial blue and the silver, is this is what's going to make it all stretchy later. Okay, so you don't need a clasp. You can just roll this on your wrist or stretch it to pull it over your hand. You're never going to need a clasp for this, and that's the fun part of using O-rings in your bracelets. It makes it really fun. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to go in and fill in this form and make this even chunkier. And we're just going to, for the next few steps, we're just going to continue to make this chain chunkier and chunkier and chunkier, so that it's real fun to wear on your wrist. You can shake it around, do the hokey pokey, shake it all about. Okay, so I picked up a celestial blue. I passed through my center. I didn't go for the first one. I'm gonna leave that for later. I went through the second celestial blue O-ring. Okay, and you see I'm just hanging another celestial blue O-ring off of the side of this. Okay, so see, now I have the powder blues on the side, and now I'll have the celestial blues hanging off of a jump ring hanging onto the side. The reason we have to add these afterwards is, of course, that the rubber O-rings don't open. So see, now I'm going on to the other side. The O-rings don't open, so we have to add this row of extra Shaggies after we produce that center chain. Okay, so you can see this. So see how I had this row with the powder blue hanging off the sides. This row with the celestial blue had to be added with a jump ring, and I added one to this side and to that side. Left side and the right side. Okay, I'll do that one more time just to show you I'm actually connecting through the celestial blue O-ring that's in the center. Okay, and just one at a time, I'm using my jump rings, picking up an O-ring, Very simple, okay? But you can already start to see that this is getting a little chunkier. You can see it's thicker down here, okay? And that's what we want. Some people like big fluffy bracelets. And I will just note here that the rubber is very soft. It's very soft on your skin. A lot of people who have allergies to some other things may do exceptionally well with wearing rubber pieces because they don't have to worry quite so much about the metal allergies. In this case, they would only have like a little tiny bit of the anodized aluminum metal touching them, which is, you know, not a lot of allergies to the anodized aluminum. And mostly they're going to feel the rubber on their skin, which is very soft, very lightweight. So, you know, a lot of people who can't wear other types of jewelry can wear this type of jewelry. Okay, let me just go one more time. And then I'm going to pause and let you catch up, and then I'm going to come back and add some more. But, you know, we don't want this video to be a million hours long just doing the same thing. Okay, so you can see here what I've done. On our first row, we had the powder O-rings hanging off the sides. Now we're adding all the celestial blue O-rings hanging off the side. Okay, so continue with that. I'm gonna pause real quick here, and then we'll come back and add some more to this bracelet. Okay, so I've completed my row of adding all of these celestial blue O-rings. I'm gonna take those away. I've used every one that I need. And you'll notice that I have one jump ring and two powder blue O-rings left. And I just want to point out that I did go back and add these ones to the sides of the first and last row. Okay, so in order to complete this bracelet and make it round, I'm going to pick up a powder blue O-ring, pass through this center celestial blue O-ring, pick up another powder blue O-ring, and pass through this celestial blue O-ring over here. I'm not quite ready to connect this up yet. I do want to do my next row first, but I wanted to point that out while it's still really visible for you, that's how we're going to go ahead and complete this. But I just find it easier as I'm adding stuff to the rows if I just leave it long and straight so I can see it a little bit better. Okay, but you can do it any way you want to. There are no rules here. And I think by now you can start to see that I consider this a really great beginner project, partly because you have to open and close a whole lot of jump rings. Okay, so you get really good at it. It's just, you know, basic learning hand memory that you're doing, and it's really great. And everybody likes this bracelet too, so it's a very popular one, and I think it makes a great gift for a lot of people. So anyhow, now we're gonna add some beads. Okay, so these are size 6 check beads, okay? And I just wanna point out with check beads, a couple of things. Check seed beads run smaller than Japanese seed beads are going to, okay? So it's just a smaller bead, period. Secondly, they're not quite as uniform in size. So I just wanna show you, like this one here, you see how long it is? Like, you know, how long the bead is? Whereas this one next to it is very short, okay? So when you're using check seed beads, you're gonna have to throw some off to the side. That's just how it's gonna go. And that's perfectly okay. But they will fit on to, these are now 20 gauge 5/32 jump rings I'm gonna be using in this next step. And I just wanna show you that, oh, see, I got lucky and this went through, but sometimes if the beads get real long, it may not fit through, and that's okay. You might have some that you wanna throw off to the side, and you can see how not long this one is, okay? So you're gonna get a wide variety. If you like the organic look in your beadwork and in your chainmail work, and in your jewelry, then check beads are great. Now, the reason I'm using check beads today is because these are fabulous. They have little stripes along the sides. They're gray and dark blue stripes that are on the sides on top of a white bead. And these are very hard to get. And it's my understanding that I'm not going to be able to get them anymore after this year. So what I have is what I have. So that's okay. Took me like 10 years to find a good supplier for these, but I really love them. They add a little bit of whimsy, you know, stripes and polka dots and things like that. Just add a little bit of whimsical to things that make them special and a little bit unique. So anyway, okay, so now along the center row, and we know our center row was made up of celestial blue, silver, celestial blue, silver. Okay, along the center row, I'm going to add a bead to each side of every single row. So you see I just added that one to the celestial blue row. Okay, so I added one on the first side. I did it above those last two rings that I added. And I think it's fine for you to say that you're just gonna, and that's part of the reason why I left it long, to just say that you're gonna do it on every row above the ones instead of going above and below. And what I mean by that is when I add to this next powder blue row, see how if I hold it up, I wanna be up here, okay, not below the ring. Okay, so just try and keep it consistent, but you don't have to. If you want to go crazy random, that is fine by me. Like I said, I encourage you to do your own colors, your own charms, do your own thing, find your own beads that you absolutely love. There's so many pretty finishes. And just to point out too, even like the O-rings that are hanging, the only thing that was imperative in making this a stretchy shaggy loop bracelet was that center row, okay, of the jumping O-ring. But even the O-rings that I dangled off of the sides could have been, like, for example, square jump rings, which have are really shiny and have kind of a hard edge to them and will really make this glisten. Or I could have added you know, some kind of pewter rings or glass rings or plastic rings. Be careful with the glass that it is sturdy enough for a piece like this. You do want to make sure whatever you add is going to hold up. However, as long as it will, you know, you don't have to be using O-rings. And I have a lot of versions of this. I have one called Shaggy Magatama Bracelet, and that uses Magatama beads on the sides to hang off, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So having things that sparkle and glisten. But this is kind of a whimsical holiday fun thing, so I wanted to show you this. And I have the red and green version kitted for you. You know, a lot of times the reason to buy a kit is that you don't have to purchase, you know, bags come in certain sizes. You know, you buy jump rings, you either buy, you know, bags of 50 or 300 from me, or you can buy them in ounces at different places. But, you know, if you just need, you know, 3 sizes of jump rings in a project and you only need like 5 of one of the sizes, then you had to buy a whole lot of extra product in order to make that. So, you know, kits can just be very convenient. They're also very convenient for traveling. I know not too many people will be traveling this holiday season, but, you know, if you're going someplace, it's nice to have your kits so that you can just stick them in your suitcase and you have little projects to work with while you're traveling. Everything's there. Okay, so you can see I added 2 beads to the row that has the celestial blue. I added 2 beads to the silver row, which has the powder hanging off the side. So now it has 2 things hanging off the side. I added 2 to the next celestial blue row. Oh, sorry, my pliers are getting all in the way of you seeing this. Okay, and then I added to the next silver center row that has the powder blue hanging off it as well. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep going with this, and you can see again this is making it fuller and fuller. It's adding a new color to our design. It's adding the stripes and a new design element, and this is going to make it really pretty in the long run. Adding beads to chainmail is just a really lovely thing to do. Adds a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. I'll let you catch up. Adding your striped beads. These are going on to every row. So I think I think we have like 88 of them to do. So this is quite a bit to get through this row. But after this, we will, in the next step, be ready to add our charms. And then we're almost finished. So I'm going to pause here, catch up, and I'll see you in just a second. Okay, so we're almost there. You can see I've got all the beads throughout. This makes this really fun and whimsical. Okay, and then we're gonna come back to this part that I talked about before. We need to connect the ends together. So you need to make sure everything's separated. So you can see my beads over on this side and my O-rings over on that side need to be split. And then, as I said, you pick up your jump ring again, pick up the powder blue, because that would have been on one side of this, pass through the celestial ring that's on the end, okay? Pick up your second powder blue, so that sits on the opposite side, and then we're gonna pass through this other celestial blue ring, okay? Once we close that, we have that single connection that we started with. It's kind of like we're going back through all of our steps here to explain them again. Okay, and then we're going to come in with the beads and add a bead to the outside and inside. It's just easier to keep track when things are already in a circle. It's a little bit easier to make mistake and miss rows and things like that. And if you leave it on a straight line, it's just a lot easier to see. I'm just going to close that a little better. One other thing I wanted to mention was with the beads. Okay, so you see I've got my bead right there, and I want one on the other side of that jump ring. With the beads, with these jump rings, okay, you never want to go crazy opening jump rings like too much because you'll bend your wire. But do open them plenty so that they're going to fit around the O-rings, because what you don't want is to force these through, because this is a much smaller jump ring and it's a little bit sharper. And if you put a nick or a tear into one of your O-rings that's in the center row, then it could cause the bracelet to tear and break, okay? So keep that in mind. Just make sure you open it enough. Okay, now it's finally time for the charms. Yay! Okay, so I've got snowmen. I've got snowflakes. I've got mittens. And what I've done is I want 9 altogether. Okay, so I've got 2 of each of the snowmen. I've got 3 snowflakes and 2 mittens. Okay, it just seemed weird to have more than 2 mittens. So I broke this up so it's more like, 4 snowmen and 5 of the other pieces that go in between. Okay, so basically you're going to want to lay out your pattern the way that you want it, and try and kind of alternate everything. I'm using a little bit thicker jump ring. I got the 18 gauge 5/32 jump rings out. Didn't want to use the 20 gauge to attach this because the 20 gauge jump rings in Silver Frost specifically run a little skinnier than normal and are slightly weaker than normal. So they're fine for our little seed beads. But for a heavy charm like the ones I'm using, I definitely wanted to use something a little bit more durable. Okay, so I'm just gonna eyeball this. Now I think I want to attach all my charms to the metal rings of the center row. So do shoot for the silver rings. Okay, but basically, you know, like one, two, every, you know, 2 or 3 jump ring rows, you can go ahead and add another charm in. So it's hard to see them. I'm going to go out to this 3rd one for this one, and then I might go to the 4th one on the next row. Just want to keep staggering it. It's real easy to move these around if you don't like the way it all turns out. In the end, you can change it still. Just open that jump ring back up and fix it. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so just keep spreading these out. You can also, the other thing you can do is add additional charms if you want to. Maybe another size, you know, maybe do these big chunky charms and spread them out all the way around, but then come back in with some smaller charms in between. That would also be nice. There's all sorts of ways to do this. I just wanted to show you the basics of how to make this bracelet real chunky. You can see that it's going to stretch, and then we're going to put our charms onto it and make a really cute charm bracelet. The other thing besides being stretchy, as you can see, as I was saying, this is real shaggy. It's fun to wear because everything kind of dangles off of it, so that makes it a lot of fun to wear. Okay, so that's all there is to it. I'll let you finish up on your own, but thank you for joining me today. I do have the red and green version of this type of charm bracelet available at beadmeastory.com, and be sure to like and follow us on YouTube, and visit beadmeastory.com for all your kits and supply needs. Thank you so much.